You didn't ask me similar questions when I went to Israel, did you? Didn't ask me such questions when I visited Palestine either. And you're not going to ask these questions when I go to Sudan or to other countries, are you? Colleagues, I think it's important to maintain trust. You have elected a president with a clear mandate, and it's my responsibility to fulfill that mandate. I feel I'm being treated unfairly, which isn't just to anyone. I've answered your questions to the best of my ability, and I've done so objectively. Let me make this clear. I wouldn't have requested a meeting with Mr. Putin if it weren't directly related to the matter of Ukraine. My commitment to this issue stands. This isn't the first country I've visited, so I don't understand why this specific visit is being singled out, as though I've never met with others before. Before we move forward, it's important to recognize the firm and composed position expressed by Dr. Tullia Ackson, President of the Interparliamentary Union and representative of Tanzania. Speaking during a session in Geneva on Monday, Dr. Ackson asked that all members treat her with the respect and dignity her position deserves. Her remarks followed a series of racially insensitive and inappropriate comments made by some representatives from Western nations who expressed support for Ukraine. In response, Dr. Ackson called on the Assembly to remain guided by fairness, equality, and proper conduct. Now we turn to the representative from Ukraine, who raised several direct questions concerning Dr. Ackson's recent meeting with President Putin. You have 2 minutes. Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. Out of respect for everyone's time, you reported that you recently met with President Putin. This meeting occurred just days after a Russian missile struck the renowned Omadit Children's Hospital in Kyiv. With that context, I have several questions that are shared, not only by colleagues from our group but also by members from across this assembly. First, when will the members of the Governing Council receive the complete record or protocol of your meeting with President Putin? Second, did you discuss the resolutions passed by this assembly regarding Russian aggression toward Ukraine? Third, was the issue of Ukrainian children taken from their country raised during your meeting? And lastly, why have you not responded to the written requests from various delegations, including those from entire geopolitical groups regarding this matter? These formal requests were sent some time ago, and we have yet to receive any reply. Meetings like the one you held may unintentionally prolong the conflict rather than help resolve it. They can contribute to ongoing hardship, not only for Ukrainians, but also for populations in other regions, such as in Africa, where food shortages have become more severe due to the war, which we regard as an unprovoked act of aggression by Russia. I respectfully ask you to address these 4 questions. Thank you. Thank you. I'd now like to remind members who wish to speak to press the request button only once. Please do not press it again unless I haven't called on you. This will help us keep your country's name visible in the queue. I will call the names as they appear. Don't worry, I have a full list of all the countries. I saw the United Kingdom earlier, but it has now disappeared from the list. Gambia, please go ahead. Iraq, your turn. Thank you, Madam President. Greetings to everyone here today who has come from around the world, except for one country, a country whose government has been responsible for the killing of civilians, including women and children, and for widespread destruction in Gaza and, more recently, in Lebanon. This extremist administration continues to expand its actions across the Middle East. Madam President, in your report, you noted visits to several global conflict zones, which you rightly identified as a priority for the IPU. You mentioned visiting Russia, but I believe a visit to Gaza would have been far more appropriate. A year ago, the Zionist state even barred the UN Secretary-General from entering Gaza to witness firsthand the devastation, forced displacement, and what many have called genocide. I urge all delegations present today to turn their attention to northern Gaza and Joblia, where residents are being starved. For over 2 weeks now, food, medicine, water, and electricity have been deliberately blocked, forcing people into displacement. These communities have endured more than a year under continuous bombardment, killings, and forced removals. How long will the international community remain indifferent? How long will we ignore the desperate pleas of women and children being bombed with some of the most destructive weapons? How long will Western countries, especially the United States, continue to back these actions? How long will we accept the violation of international laws and rulings from both the ICJ and ICC without accountability? How much longer will this state be allowed to operate outside international law and basic human principles? At the same time, publications are circulating here that highlight the number of hostages held by resistance groups, yet conveniently overlook the countless women and children whose remains are still trapped beneath the rubble. Madam President, as the representative of the world's parliaments, I urge you to visit Gaza and southern Lebanon. I hope we can stand united against this form of international violence and address it with the seriousness it deserves. Thank you. Is it working now? Ukraine? Apologies, I need a moment. Colleagues, a point was raised by Iraq regarding the report I just presented. The concern was about why I visited Russia in the context of the Ukraine war, but not Gaza. Let me clarify. In November last year, I visited both Palestine and Israel. I met with leaders in both locations. That visit was one of my first official trips after assuming the presidency in October. So, it's not accurate to suggest that I've overlooked the Middle East, or the situations in Lebanon, Gaza, or Israel. Approach all conflicts with the same level of concern. It's also important to note that the Middle East and Ukraine are not the only regions under review by the IPU. We are equally concerned about the situations in Yemen, Syria, Sudan, and across West Africa. As for Lithuania's question, mandated these visits Russia, not Ukraine? Let me explain. First, the letters were sent. Dear colleagues, everything was done transparently. These letters were clear and can be accessed if needed. They were not classified. Copies were sent to our counterparts in Ukraine, and others were sent to Russia. My visit was always scheduled to begin with Ukraine. Ukraine responded, but the dates we proposed clashed with President Zelensky and the speaker's travel plans. They were attending the NATO meeting in New York. Could I have stopped that? No, I don't have that authority. At the same time, the BRICS summit was taking place. Should I have canceled my visit to Russia simply because Ukraine wasn't available? No, because the IPU exists for dialogue. It stands for parliamentary diplomacy. That is the framework in which I acted. I had hoped these efforts would be recognized instead of being criticized for decisions that were not improper. You ask, who gave me the mandate? The same way a former president from the 12 group was not questioned when he visited Kyiv who mandated him. Let's be consistent. I've already explained this to the 12 and to anyone who wanted clarity. If anyone still feels I prioritized Russia unfairly, I repeat, letters were sent to both sides. I didn't cancel my trip to Russia just because I couldn't go to Ukraine. When I visited Israel or Palestine, no one asked these questions. The same will apply when I visit Sudan or any other country. Let's maintain some balance. You elected a president, not a figurehead. I have a mandate to carry out, and I believe the way I'm being treated here is not fair. I've answered your questions as clearly and objectively as I can. Also, let me be clear. I would not have sought a meeting with President Putin if Ukraine was not part of the reason. My commitment was clear. And this isn't the first country I've visited. So why does this particular visit seem to change everything? Why is the president of the IPU now being painted in such a negative light? I ask that you treat me with the same respect I show all of you. I will always uphold the principles of parliamentary diplomacy and the ideals of the IPU. But remember, I am not a god or an angel, just a human being working within my limits. The president of the task force already addressed this issue. I've repeated myself many times. I acted based on the task force's request. So what did I do wrong? Was I supposed to sit back, do nothing, and say the IPU has no role to play? That wouldn't be fair to the people suffering in Ukraine, especially women and children. It would also go against the mandate you gave me. Let me do the job I was elected to do. Don't undermine me because of where I come from or because of assumptions rooted in outdated views. We're not colonized, and I ask that we respect each other. I will continue doing my best. That is my promise to you. Thank you. Now, a few specific concerns were also raised. Some members asked for full meeting records. I did not personally record the meeting, so I don't have such a record. Regarding resolutions, yes, they were shared multiple times. Also referred to the issue of kidnapped children currently in Russia. This is a serious matter for the IPU. We've been actively working with the task force and will continue supporting efforts to return those children to Ukraine. As for written requests, I've responded to every single one addressed to me. And remember, all of them also go to the Secretary General. Nothing is hidden. All communication is properly documented and available if needed. Another point raised was from Denmark, questioning why I went to Russia before Ukraine. As I've already explained, there were scheduling conflicts. That is the full context. Dear colleagues, I believe this explanation should resolve the issue. Allow me to carry out the responsibilities you entrusted me with. If you have any thoughts about this video, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing. Also welcome your feedback in the comments section. Your input is always appreciated. Thank you.